So Sunday was Father's Day, official Grumpy Dad Day. My day. It's my day. And it was a very nice day. It was a very nice day. It was very nice having everybody at home. And you guys, as usual, made it a very nice day for me. Thank you for the gifts. The soap, the socks, and the back scrubber. And I'm not being a dick. Genuinely, when you get old, these are good gifts. These are really good presents. The soap makes me smell good. The back scrubber is really cool because I'm fat and I can't reach everywhere that needs to be washed. And the socks, I really need the socks because you little bastards keep stealing them from my drawer. But as you guys know, I'm not really into Father's Day and Mother's Day and Valentine's Day and all these sorts of things. I'm just not. And I've never really explained why, I suppose. I don't think I've ever articulated it at all. So I'm going to try explain it. But as usual, I'm not just going to come to the point really quickly. I'm going to ramble on and talk shit for ages, and then eventually maybe I might reach a point where it becomes understandable to you, or not. I could just be boring you for a little while and then you'll have no closure. That will be funny for me, by the way. But I don't think that'll happen. Anyway, a good place to start is to tell you about my dad. So it's easy to sum up my dad. He was a weirdo. He was a real weirdo. He was a strange man. He did the oddest things. He would talk to anybody. He could always find somebody to talk to. And when he spoke to them, it was like they'd been buddies for 20 years. They would have a really good conversation, and quite often you'd see the other person walking away from him, and the look on their face was, did I know that guy? Did I know him? Because he would just talk to anybody. He was in the supermarket, he was in the bank, if he was standing at the petrol station, no, he'd talk to anybody. The other thing that he would do is he loved singing, and so he would just, didn't matter where he was, if he felt like singing, he would just sing. And he had a very good voice. He had an operatic tenor voice. He was trained and everything. He had a very good voice. And so he would just sing anyway. We were standing in the bank once, in a queue, to draw out money. And he just starts, Galdiamo Sikitu, Yuva. What the fuck is this? People were looking around. What is going on? This was in the days before flash mobs. By the way, he was just a one-man flash mob. He started the craze. But he would just sing wherever he was. He went to an AA meeting with your grandpa once, and while everybody's telling their heartfelt stories, he just stood up and he sung a song. La 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 la. People were like, okay. Well done, whoever you are. Strange man. And going to the shops with him was a nightmare. It was a real freaking nightmare. Firstly, because if he drove, you were in for a wild ride. My dad didn't really understand the concept of multiple lanes on a road. The road was for his pleasure, and so he would drive along and he would cross the white line on that side, and then he would cross the white line on that side. He was wasn't trying to be a dick to the other drivers. He just not aware of the importance of them, which was weird because he was a cop and part of his job was to enforce traffic laws. But he didn't really. He just tried anyway. So it was a nightmare being in a car with him. And when you got to the shops, beware, because he would quite often just disappear. He would disappear. You'll be looking around to put something in the basket that he was holding, and he'd be gone. He'd be gone. Like, where the fuck is this old man now? And he'd look around for him in the shop, and quite often you'd find him. He would have wandered out of the shop. He would have found like a junk shop. He managed to find those things everywhere, junk shop or an op shop, and you'd find him inside there, rooting through things, or sorting the coins, or organizing the books into alphabetical order. And books, Holy Mother of God, we had cardboard boxes and boxes and boxes full of books at home, and on every subject that you can think of, self-help stuff, biographies, things about agriculture and history. Every now and then you'd come across a book that says, teach yourself German. He didn't speak a word of German, but he felt the need to buy that book once. And then you'd find a pile of Louis L'Amour westerns, the most pulpy, rubbish westerns ever, and he just consumed them, he devoured them. He loved reading. He would wake up at 4 o'clock every day, and he would spend 2 hours just sitting in his chair in the lounge, just reading something or other. It could be a trashy novel, it could be a self-help thing, it could be some published article by some professor somewhere, and he'd be reading it. He's a very intelligent guy. He's really, really smart. Sort of guy that, if you were stuck on something on your homework, you could just say, Dad, and he'd know the answer. And if he didn't, he'll go rooting through his pile of books, and he'd find a book, and he'll pull it out, and he'll make you read it so that you understood, and then he would explain it, and then he would make you explain it so you understood. It was often really frustrating and annoying, but if you asked him a question, you came away knowing the answer and everything around the answer. But he was a weirdo. And because of that, he didn't really relate to a lot of people. He didn't have a lot of mates. As far as he was concerned, he was in his own little bubble, him and his family. And he knew a lot of people, but he didn't really have any mates. People didn't really understand him. One of the other things about him is that, and this was probably the Irish in him, he was full of sayings and proverbs and important pieces of advice that you could remember and take away with you. And a lot of them were very, very useful, and I still think about them now. For example, one of the things he said to me once was, never be a slave to your possessions, because they'll end up owning you. And he's absolutely right. The more you worry about the shit that you own and the crap that you keep, the more concerned about you are about their well-being, and the less concerned you are about the well-being of those around you. They're a really good piece of advice. But then on the flip side, another one of his great sayings was, always keep your backside behind you. What the fuck does that mean? I've been trying to figure out for 50 years. Always keep your backside behind you. What did he mean? What did he mean? I still don't know. And it drives me nuts, because I can't figure it out, because he must have had some point. But I can't discern it. He was also a really healthy and fit guy. He used to run every day. He used to do exercises and press-ups and sit-ups, and he didn't drink and he didn't smoke, and he ate healthy, and he really was a paragon of virtue. And he was in really good shape. He was fit and he was strong, and he had old man abs. Not like me. I didn't take after him at all. I'm a fat bastard. You're a very fit guy. And so that's why it was a real surprise when he dropped dead at 64. He was very young to die. And he literally dropped dead. He was working as a security guard in England, and he walked into work, said hello to the guy that he was relieving, and then dropped dead. Just dropped dead right there. And the guy thought that he was kidding. He was just playing around. But No, he died instantly. And that's weird because 64 is really, really young. And I'm not far off that now. And so I think about that. I think about that. Yeah, I do think about it. But the one piece of grace that I will carry with me forever is this. On the day that he died, the afternoon that he died, him and I spoke on the phone. And we talked about football, we talked about the Formula One. Michael Schumacher was winning everything. And Manchester United was not winning as much as they were before, but they were winning. We talked about that. He wasn't a United fan, and he was teasing me about that. We talked about the Formula One, we talked about the family. But then we ended the conversation like this. He said, okay then, I gotta go. See you later, kid. And I said to him, see you later, old man. He said, love you, my boy. And I said, love you, Dad. And that was the last thing I said to him. It was the last thing that he said to me. And for that, I will be eternally grateful to whatever entity controls our fate and destiny. So to get back to my original point, I'm not really into Father's Day, and I'm not really into Mother's Day, I'm not really into Valentine's Day, because you're taking one day and you're saying, I'm going to celebrate that person, where actually, we should be spending 365 days a year telling people we love them, and telling people that we care about them, and telling people that we appreciate them. Because one day, that conversation, that thing that you say is going to be the last thing that that person hears, and the last thing that you hear from them. So I know this isn't a funny, stupid, grumpy dad story, but if there's ever a piece of advice that I've got for you kids, it's this. Tell the people that you care about, that you love them as often as possible. I love you guys.